A special session of the Organisation for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons is due to be held on Wednesday. Moscow called for this meeting over the poisoning of former double agent Sergey Skripal and his daughter Yulia in the UK. The organisation has said that some of the questions posed by Russia could be answered as early as this evening. In the meantime, several British media outlets have come up with their own theories as to what transpired. Anastasia Churkina breaks them down for us.
Tomorrow will actually mark the one-month anniversary since the Skripal saga started, yet we haven't seen any real proof, and Russia is still waiting for that with open arms. And while all of this has been unraveling, we've certainly seen the press here in the UK living it up with catchy headlines and deciphering curious details of what could have happened with this whole incident. One of the ones that's been circulating around recently, one about a so-called secret bank account. There's been reportedly stories going around that Yulia Skripal, the daughter of Sergey Skripal, who has been in coma with him in the hospital, she had gained access just days before the poisoning to about $200,000. This was connected to her deceased brother who had died a year ago, and the media have been talking about whether or not this has any connection to what happened with them. Some reports have been suggesting that he was in a car crash. Others suggested that he had experienced liver failure while being on a holiday to St. Petersburg with his wife at the time, with questions being asked about whether his death could have been connected to the Skripal poisoning, with potentially people trying to be looking for the whereabouts of Sergey Skripal himself. So lots of questions about the family going around, but certainly some details circulating that are doing not very much but raising eyebrows, including one of my personal favorites, something that's been dubbed the serial mystery about a 1-pound bag of buckwheat or porridge that apparently, allegedly, reportedly, Yulia Skripal had asked a friend of hers to bring to the UK because it was her father's favorite breakfast, and whether or not that porridge could have had something to do with the poisoning. So certainly lots of details going around with people expecting answers, more information, really keeping the narrative of the story going, while yet, of course, we're waiting to see any official findings, including from the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons and from Yulia Skripal, again, like I said, herself, who is said to have regained consciousness, and certainly people are waiting to see what she will have to say.
Well, despite there being no evidence presented to back up London's claims, some countries and organisations have quickly sided with the UK by expelling Russian diplomats. NATO was no exception, ordering 7 Russian diplomatic staff to leave its headquarters. Russia's Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister and former permanent representative to NATO told us he thinks that the Skripal affair was likely devised to boost military spending.
I think this whole Skripal case was concocted to prepare public opinion for the ever-increasing amounts of money being spent on the military. At present, the military budgets of European NATO members, put together, total approximately 270 billion. If they achieve the 2% target, that sum will come to 400 billion. That would be 10 times more than Russia's military budget. Obviously, such whopping amounts of money being spent on the military are liable to be the subject of heated public debate. To make sure this goes down well, you need the image of an enemy, and a powerful one at that. So it's crystal clear that this huge provocation that was carried out by the UK was intended to achieve this goal, which is to add fuel to the flames of Russophobia, which has recently begun to peter out, as people have simply got tired of it. Having expelled Russian diplomats, NATO is soaring off the branch they're sitting on, as it were. I can't believe they don't realize that in this turbulent time, a lack of proper communication between the two powers in Europe could potentially bring about very dangerous consequences.
Now, commuters in Paris are facing a day of disappointment as rail workers set off on a huge strike against President Emmanuel Macron. I'll bring you the full story after this break.